Good morning, everybody. We are live. Let me turn off the air conditioner in the background. Not making quite as much noise. All right, so hopefully people will come in here in a few moments. I'm going to check one thing here. Just make sure that things are doing what they're supposed to. And I am showing as live on the channel. So, today we are going to talk about a couple of things. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so not that one. So for Rescuezilla, there are a few things I wanted to go over. First is that we've got a weekly rolling release that's out now and available. When you do backup over SSH, this version is supposed to include a field for port number. So you can do a custom port number. Now, when I boot this one here, which does in fact have the latest rolling release, that port number field does not show up. So there is still some work yet the developer needs to do on that. But just as an aside, I did attempt to start backing up over SSH to my rsync.net account. It does work. It is very dependent on your upload speed. So I canceled that operation because it was going to take like 4 hours to do. But what I discovered is that with this current rolling release of FileZilla, if you select shared over the network, and watch, it won't do it to me now, and it does. Okay, so you've got the layout very similar to what is shown here. You've got port listed but no field, and then you've got the domain label left over from another screen showing over here in this area. And I've tried various things to click around here, and that field just does not exist on this screen. So back to the drawing board on that. Hopefully the developer will recommit that change, and maybe this next week, if he follows through on the next rolling release, maybe that feature will be restored. Now, I do want to do some testing with this on a local SSH server, because let's face it, my network is mostly Unix and Linux, mainly Linux and Mac OS for that matter, with only a single Windows machine currently running. So if this does in fact work over SSH, it will be another tool to add to my arsenal, and it will be a feature that I am planning to cover in a new Rescuezilla series once the 2.4 version comes out, which I have been planning this since the original release date has come and gone, but yeah, that's my desire for what to do with Rescuezilla, is to record a new series and cover some of the new features, as well as going over more of the options here on the welcome screen. So, good morning to our sole viewer at the moment. Hi James, how's it going? I've been stalling a little bit. I haven't really covered much. The big thing that I can come back in here and show you real quick is that when you try to do a backup in Rescuezilla over SSH, the field for the port number is for some strange reason not populating, and then this label for domain is showing. Now, domain should exist on the SMB screen, but it should not exist on the SSH screen. So there's a glitch somewhere. I'm doing well, James. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. All right, so that's the state of things on FileZilla. This is what the screen is supposed to look like, with a port field here for a custom SSH port. And as of 6/27, the Rescuezilla developer said that it's live in the rolling release. I've downloaded the rolling release twice and tested, and I cannot make this setting work. So yeah, this is what's displaying. This is what is supposed to display. So not quite what the developer expected to be there. Good morning, Catherine. Welcome. Okay, so oh, we bumped up to 4. All right. I guess stalling sometimes works. Okay. So that is where I wanted to go with Rescuezilla today. I had hoped to be able to show more, but once the test that I wanted to do failed, I decided it wasn't the best idea to continue forward with that. Shut down. So, alright, so let that finish shutting down. Alright, so the other piece that I wanted to show today, and this is going to be a little more drawn out and technical, is I wanted to do a demo of UISP, which is the Ubiquiti management interface for their more ISP, the internet provider facing equipment that they make. And I was recently Hey, Tony, welcome. Um, I was contacted by a viewer, and I'm not going to mention his name because I don't know if I've got permission to do so. But I was contacted by a viewer, and he was having some issues with UISP, which is formerly known as UNMS. And so I started doing some experimentation, and once I get to experimenting. Oops, I don't want that. Um, Doggone Windows. Once I get to experimenting, things seem to roll downhill for me and pick up a life of their own. So let's do. Let's put that on its own screen. Okay, that looks better. Okay, so we are connected to this machine, 74.171. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do an install of UISP. I'm going to copy the article and put that into chat. Hopefully. So this is the instruction set I used. And what that comes down to, and I'll make this a little bit larger. What this comes down to is running a curl script and dropping it into dropping the contents into a shell script. So we're going to do this. So curl from this URL to temp UISP underscore install.sh. And since we don't know exactly what that's going to do, we're going to take a look at that. So we're going to say nano UISP temp UISP underscore install.sh. And you can see that this is going through various phases. So we're checking a version, latest version URL sets that. If not this version, then we're going to say failed to obtain the latest version from the latest version URL, which again was set up here in this variable. We're going to echo the version to the screen. We are going to remove a temp folder. We're going to download the installation package. We're going to change the permissions on that installation package. And then we're going to run the install. So pretty straightforward stuff. I'm sure I missed a few points, but you've got the basic idea of what this install script is doing. Okay, so the second part of the command that's listed on that website that I pasted into chat is this. We're going to do sudo, we're going to launch bash and execute this shell script. As for the password, And so we're downloading and installing Docker. This is going to take a couple minutes, so I'm going to go over here and check out chat. So the server I've got this running on is a fresh install of Ubuntu 22.04, as you can see right here. And prior to the live stream starting this morning, I installed this, I did updates on it, and I set up my SSH user so that I could SSH in without having to use a password. It just authenticates with SSH keys. So, as you can see, it uses FluentD, Siri database, whatever that is, PostgreSQL, Rabbit Message Queue, uses Nginx for the web server, and then Ubiquiti CRM, and then UNMS. They still haven't renamed the file to UISP, but that's what they're calling the whole package now. And then NetFlow. So those are the Docker images that it's pulling down currently. So all right. David, I think you're going to turn your granddaughter into a techie. Not to be confused with a Trekkie. You know, all that live long and prosper stuff, but okay, so we should be almost done with this install process. So it pulled down all of the images and it should be starting things up now. Checking available ports. So 80, 81, 443, and 2055. Creating a couple of networks for both public and internal. And it should be creating the actual Docker containers. Okay, so one thing that you may want to do when running this, as you know, I've done on most of my Docker machines that I've got Docker running on and various projects, is to set your sudo user to be able to execute Docker commands. And so to do that, you do sudo usermod -a capital G, which you're adding a group. The group is Docker, and the user is my user listed here at the end. Okay, then you've got to log out and log back in. And then if we try to execute Docker PS, it lets us interact with Docker without using sudo, and that is all based on being a member of this group. So, the next thing we want to do is to verify we're still on 171. We're going to come back over here. And this is good. Advanced. It's a self-signed certificate. It's on our local network. It's all right. Accept risk and continue. And so we're going to start by agreeing with the terms of service. Okay, so America Detroit, no SMTP server for the moment. We're going to download this, and we're going to say this is going to be the demo UNMS vault key, and we're going to save that to the desktop. Continue. Okay, so fine. And we are up and running. So I don't have any gear that I can adopt into this interface at the moment, but we've got a base install. So that's all and good. So we can go ahead and sign out of that for the moment. But I want to go one step further here on the server. I'm going to go back to my notes. So the next part, and I do this just to keep my own sanity, and I'm going to paste this into chat as well. And these are the instructions for installing Portainer. Now, let me actually come back over here, and I'm going to copy this directly from their site. And so this is going to run a new Docker container in daemon mode. So it's going to run in the background, specifying ports. Outside port 8000 is mapped to inside port 8000. Same for port 9443. Name of the container is going to be Portainer. Always restart. It's mapping the Docker sock from the host system to the internal system. It's adding, specifying the volume, which is a step that I missed here. Let's do that. So before we do that part, we do this part. We need to have, Portainer needs to have its own container, and that's just creating a volume. And then we can come back and put this back in. And so this is going to go ahead and pull Portainer down. And I've done this in other videos, so this shouldn't be anything terribly new if you've been around the channel for a while. One thing I will never claim is to be a Docker or Portainer expert. But the more I use it, the more I'm learning. So hopefully that translates well to everybody else. So oops. So we come to the default the default location for this particular computer. It's going to take us right to the UISP. 8000, port number 8000 should take us into Portainer. Docker PS Portainer 8000 and 9443. Okay, so that might actually be mapped 9443, advanced, accept risk, and then we've got to set up a username. This is an internal user for Portainer, and set a password. Turn that off. Okay, and so we're into Portainer. And the great thing about this is that it picks up other containers that are already running on the machine. And you can see that we've got this UNMS. It's listed under stacks, which is nice. It shows everything is running. But if we wanted to come in and mess with these, we could make changes right through the Portainer interface. And they've got an option to recreate the container. And this is one of the advantages that I feel it becomes available with Portainer, because if you're not using Docker day in and day out, the commands can get a little obscure, I suppose you could say. But you go to recreate and say pull latest image, and you pull the latest image from the repository, and it brings that back up. So to me, and I guess I'll say your mileage may vary. To me, if I were going to run UISP in a production environment, I would go that extra step to have Portainer available, just so I have a second method besides the command line, a second method of interacting with it. So that is what I was able to accomplish with this. And so jumping back to UISP for a moment, couple things I want to show. If you go into settings and backups, you can create backups here, and you can restore from file. But if we come back to the command line, the backup contents when you create them are actually stored in let's see, change the root user for a moment. Okay. So in home UNMS, which it does create a user for UNMS, home UNMS data, this is the contents that you would want to back up, and UNMS backups and backups. So there's currently nothing there, but it would be fairly simple. Again, this is not something I've delved too deep into yet, but it would be fairly simple to write a small script to do a backup of this data. Now, according to the Ubiquiti information, you do want to stop the Docker containers, and then use something like tar and bzip or gzip or whatever your preferred compression utility is, and pack those files into a single archive, and then you can dump them off the server to a backup location. Now, for me, I do use rsync.net. I've been with rsync.net for almost 5 years now. I think it'll be 5 years in August or October, somewhere in that range. I'll have hit 5 years with them. So, excuse me. So you could step through this process, build out your script to do a backup to a zip file or a gzip file or a bzip file, whatever your preference might be. And then in the next step after that, relocate that file or a copy of it anyways off site, off the server, using rsync or whatever your preferred backup method might be. So that's, I guess, how I would approach it. Of course, you know, I will throw out the caveat. This demo, the way I did this today, I have not hardened this server. I have not installed a certificate on it, but it is not internet facing. So for the purposes of this demo, it's fine. If I were to do this in more of a production environment, you know, perhaps I would get a $5 a month VPS from Vultr or DigitalOcean or AWS or what have you, you could do the same thing there. You could do everything I described there. But you would want to make sure that you installed a certificate to have that protection layer for the website, because it is served as a web application. So you would want to use Let's Encrypt or whatever other preferred certificate authority that is available. Some of them paid, some of them free. Your mileage may vary, but you could do that. And if you are doing a system where you're running it locally, and you are using something like Nginx proxy server to serve this outside of your network, again, you'd want to use Let's Encrypt or something similar. And you would want to make sure that only the needed ports on your router / firewall are open, so that you can maintain the system and have it do what you need to do. So, hopefully, this helps somebody somewhere along the line. It was an interesting exercise for me, since I was not, other than knowing it existed, I was not intimately familiar with UISP, formerly known as UNMS, according to the latest Ubiquiti promotional materials, I suppose. But it was an interesting exercise to go through. So, questions, comments, suggestions, I'm all ears at this point. Catherine, the X299 system is just about buttoned up. Just doing some final testing, more burn-in testing, just to make sure everything is working the way I want it. I'm not going to replace fans quite yet. Just kind of want to figure out how I want to do this. Just a couple little loose ends, but so far it's running well. And if I hadn't been traveling last weekend and into the beginning of this week, I would have wrapped it up by now. I've been recovering and doing laundry and trying to play catch up with other household chores that were not getting done while I was on vacation. So we will build her a PC when she's 5. All right. I've recently become very familiar with this install process. This is only like the second time I've done this. I did it once as a test, and I just wanted to play with it a little bit and see if I could actually break it. So that's what I have been playing with since we last spoke. So All right. I guess I talked fast today. What else is new in the world of Linux and other interesting stuff? Let's see. I have not visited DistroWatch yet today. eLive. If you're a fan of the Enlightenment desktop, eLive has a new release, a beta release available. Oracle Linux 9.0 is available. Porteus 5. Condres released 1.0. UCS 50-2. And I think that wraps up everything there. Not a lot of huge releases going on this past week. Debian 11.4 Bullseye. So that's not a huge new release, it's just a point release, but 79 security updates and 81 bug fixes. Well, there's a new Slimbook out, or talking about the 12th gen Intel versions of their laptops. KDE Gear and other things as such, I guess. So yeah, that really covers everything I had in my notes. But I guess my takeaway from working with UISP a little bit is that it's interesting to me that they did not make this available as a set of okay, let's try this again. Copy. There we go. Paste. Okay, so the thing about their installation process is that they wrap the whole thing together with the installation of Docker. Now, of course, they intend, from what I can gather, they intend this to be more of a black box, an appliance, if you will, where you don't run a lot of other things on that server. And I guess that's I'm not sure if that's the 100% the best way to do things, since a lot of people are going to want to have Portainer installed with it. Now, there's nothing to say, like I demonstrated, that you couldn't add Portainer after the initial install. But the question in my mind becomes, how are their updates being done? How are they ensuring that you're staying up to date? And they seem to be a little lacking, if I dare say as much. Again, this is just my opinion, but they appear to be somewhat lacking in the troubleshooting category of their documentation. So I would hope that as they continue to develop this, maybe they will enhance this install script to also install Portainer by default, and in the process hopefully make it a little easier for people to troubleshoot when they do run into issues. Again, just my opinion, and there are thousands of people like me giving their opinions on YouTube, so take it for what it is. That being said, I have been around the Linux community for 25 years now, so I hope I've got a little bit of legitimacy behind my opinion. So, hello, JK. You are very welcome for the content. I hope you find it useful. So I guess I'm open to questions and comments at this point. If you haven't done so already, I would like to invite you to like the video, and after this live stream is over, perhaps leave a comment. The YouTube algorithm is an ever-changing entity, almost, and anything that we can do as a community to give creators that little extra push into the algorithm is very helpful and appreciated by myself and the other content creators that are here in the live chat right now. So David from the PE for Doers channel, Tony from Quick Tech Solutions, and Catherine. We all are YouTube creators and have our various channels, and try to prop each other up in the process. So I guess one other little well, I guess it's not so little, I'll move my fat head out of the way here. I do have an addition behind me. It's not quite mounted how or where I want it yet, but I do have a TV on a TV stand in my office now, and through the power of a composite to HDMI adapter, I have been going down a nostalgic trip back to the early 90s. And I've had, well, let's see. So last weekend I picked up a Sega Genesis 2. People in other countries will know it as the Mega Drive. I picked up a Genesis 2 while I was in Illinois. And I was able to hook that up. I also got out my original TurboGrafx 16 console that I picked up the summer I graduated high school. And people can do the math on how long ago that was. But actually, let's see. Let's bring me back full screen. So this guy here. So that's the TurboGrafx 16 is this little guy, and then this additional unit that plugs into the back. It's called a Turbo Booster Plus. And what this did was, since the base console only had RF out, this added composite out. It also did some work internally to both clean up the video output as well as the audio. And it has a battery in it, which I actually need to pull this apart and double check that battery because it's multiple decades old. But it allows you to save games, basically. So whereas the Nintendo and Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis built batteries into the individual cartridges, NEC and Hudson Soft, when they built the TurboGrafx 16 and the PC Engine in Japan and other markets, they did not put that on the individual cartridges because, again, that's a TurboGrafx game. It's on something called a Hue card, which is similar. If you've ever seen the old cards that go into a satellite system, the satellite box, it's very similar in size to what this is. This is a very thin cartridge compared to other systems. Yeah, I think that's very well said, Tony. I do try to mention creators, as you've stated. I try to mention creators at the end of the live streams, and we are all supporting each other. It's not a competition. There's room for everybody to be successful on YouTube, and like you said, I am also learning from the community daily. I try to do my part and watch as many creators' videos as I can, while still, trying to balance my own responsibilities and need to create content to put out on my channel. But yeah, I'm optimistic for this second half of 2022. I think things are looking up, and as far as content I've got in the works to come out the second half of this year. So just I guess a final comment on Rescuezilla. The 2.4 release, and here's the post right from the developer. He's no longer putting dates on when the 2.4, which is going to be the next stable release, is going to be out. But he's talking more about the rolling releases. Let's see. Aim of getting something released to users Monday nights Pacific Standard. So hopefully, whether this is a weekly thing or a bi-weekly thing, it will serve to get Rescuezilla more refined and some of the little quirks worked out. But yeah, I like the overall usefulness of this tool. And you know, I've done several videos on it, dedicated videos on it. I try to keep it in rotation on the live stream as well, just to keep it in front of people. You know, there are many utilities out there that will do similar things. Some free and open source, some paid and proprietary. Many that only support Windows. The nice thing about Rescuezilla is that if you've got a Windows machine, a Linux machine, an Intel Mac, you know, free BSD, what have you, you should be able to back it up with Rescuezilla. Make an image clone of it with Rescuezilla. There are still a few caveats and things that are being addressed. The 2.4 version should address many of those, such as not being able to back up ButterFS or BetterFS or BTreeFS, however you want to say that. But it's a useful utility to have around. So, on that note, I guess if there aren't any other questions or comments, you know, I just want to say thank you all for coming out for this. At one point, we had 11 people viewing, which I think is a record. And you know, that is with only a few hours notice before this happened this morning. I am trying to come up with ways that I can reproduce because of my limited artistic talents. In fact, I'm not even sure I would call what I do with my thumbnails a talent. But I am trying to come up with a way to be more consistent with my thumbnails and, you know, make them a little less cookie cutter and make them pop a little more. This is going to be an ongoing challenge for me for a while. But it's one that I've got to do. So so again, thank you all for coming out today. The weather here in Michigan, at least, looks nice outside. So if you got the afternoon free, get away from your computer, get outside, and soak up a little sun, have a little fun, because summer doesn't last long enough, and carpe diem, seize the day, and enjoy the good weather while it's here. So, all right, on that note, thanks again. I'm gonna cut this off here, and we will see you next week, hopefully, and with a little luck, if I can finish all the little nitpicky button-up stuff I've got to do on the big server, I may be able to show that off. Maybe not live, but I might pre-record some footage and roll that during the next live stream. So, on that note, have a good day. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. And I will see you all in the next video. Happy computing, everybody.